We have this from AP. Trump's historic hush money trial gets underway. First day ends without any jurors being picked.
Yeah.
Is that normal?
Well, so what happened much of the day today was the judge ruling on threshold motions and setting some rules. For example, his lawyer asked, well, he has these two things. First of all, there's the important family matter of his son graduating. And in a 6-week trial, I've had 6-week trials, it's normal for the judge to say, yeah, you can have that day off. It's courteous and normal. The judge has business to attend to, right? Next week, President Trump has a constitutional right to be at the hearing at the United States Supreme Court over immunity. And this judge says, if you go to that hearing, which is your constitutional right, your due process right, I will jail you. I will jail you for attending a very important other hearing.
Do you think Trump will go to the Supreme Court? I kind of feel like he will, yeah, right?
He has to.
I think it won't surprise me that the judge's, frankly, outrageous orders in this regard get called. Someone's going to call the bluff.
Trump must go to the Supreme Court.
There are these two different things.
The news headline, Trump held in contempt to be jailed for attending oral arguments in Supreme Court case.
It's a crazy time.
Man,
it's ridiculous.
This weekend was nuts. It was like a lever got pulled. They said like the news had jammed up in the machine and then someone took a big cotton swab the size of Cuomo's nose and jammed it in there to knock it all loose. And now it's just ripping.
Saturday, I went and had a beer for the first time in a long time. And I was just sitting alone at the brewery, just like looking out over the river, just thanking God that I was in a peaceful place. And that's when the missiles came flying, the drones came in.
And you look at your phone and it's like missiles.
I got home and it's like, oh, another, like what? I don't know if I'm just part of a greater, like I do believe there's more to life than just me getting up and doing we're connected. And I don't know.
You know, it was kind of wild because it was like Saturday night and we were hanging out at the poker room and the game got turned off for breaking news. Iran had fired missiles at Israel. And I just look up and I was like, in the poker room?
Really?
Wow. All these poor old guys trying to just get away and just relax with their buddies. And now it's like, hey, World War III is happening.
My latest fantasies are about being off grid. Like, that's what I imagine. I'm like, total peace, no noise, no Twitter, no phone,
just
nothing.
Like chickens.
This is, well, or little birds or these crazy bees we got out here. We got the craziest prehistoric bees. They're like with
prehistoric?
Wings. Yeah, they seem it with wingspan. They're the size of my palm.
Are you talking about carpenter bees?
I don't know. Whatever they are, they're flying around my house.
Those are them.
Those big
carpenter bees?
Yeah,
but those are everywhere.
Yeah,
those are in New Jersey.
They're not in Brooklyn. I will tell you that.
They're certainly not in Brooklyn.
So let me just circle back to a question you asked. So we lawyers use two different terms. So a failure to reach a verdict is also known as a mistrial, and in the event of the mistrial, he can be retried. So if there's 11-1 and there's no agreement, the 1 doesn't persuade the 11, that's a mistrial. And so then the prosecutor has to decide if they want to bring the case again.
And they will.
And they will, but that might happen after the election.
I don't know. I kind of feel like the trial's already fake.
The trial is fake. This trial would never have been brought by a non-hack, non-Marxist DA.
Well, this is a DA who, as soon as he came into office, he was all on board for bail reform, letting people out of prison, closing down, like definitely not prosecuting people for certain crimes,
right?
Reducing most like 52% of felonies. I think I was looking at it today to misdemeanors, and suddenly we're aggravating these misdemeanors to felonies for no good reason.
That's the point I was making. That all over the country, these Marxist DAs will prosecute you for your free speech, will prosecute you for defending your home, will prosecute you for defending your person, will prosecute you over bogus stuff like this. But they won't prosecute people breaking into your car, stealing your stuff, raping your wife. They won't prosecute those crimes.
They prosecute you
knows.
For defending yourself,
for
defending your wife.
Defending yourself.
Yeah.
And so this is and I'm talking about literally millions of dollars is all it takes to buy up all the DAs in the big cities in America.
So why are there not a lot of, there's a lot of leftist donors, there's Soros buying up DAs. Why do we not have a lot of conservative donors?
That is the question. Why do we not have conservative donors who are investing in these issues? And there's a grift factor. There's a consultant grift factor. You don't make a lot of money being the consultant to a race like that. It's not glamorous. And so I think that's a real problem on our side. They don't have that problem on the other side.
Yeah, the left, they're cultists. And so advancing the cult is its own reward. On the right, it's like, well, I'm trying to make money. And if you can't make money, then what's the point?
On the right, it's where's my return?
But the MAGA faction is the ideological faction of the right, where passion and conviction matters more than just the money. But of course, meritocracy plays a role in that, so people are trying to make money. You're always going to have a tough time fighting communists. The communists are driven by religious fervor. I don't know what to tell you. You don't have a strong Christian fervor. You've got a decent one, but they're too nice.
Yeah, but the thing is, there aren't that many Marxists in this country. It's just that the ones that there are elevated into positions of power. And a lot of people in the country are sheep.
But
they go along and they get along. And so you're holding out hope for the youth of this country. The youth of this country, particularly people at college age. First of all, college is a brainwashing machine for most Americans. Good kids go in and complete useless idiots come out. Even prior to that, you have these rainbow-haired weirdos teaching the lower, teaching the elementary and the secondary schools. And so I have, it's only kids who are being homeschooled or kids who somehow have very strong values at home who aren't coming out ruined out of that educational system in our country.
That is true, but we're also seeing Gen Z is pushing more to the right than any other generation we've seen before. Or it's a historical trend breaker. Typically, every generation moves slightly leftward on issues, namely cultural issues, but this time, Gen Z is actually, it was a few years ago, it's hilarious, 6 years ago, we saw Gen Z shift rightward, and then in the past couple of years, it's been a dramatic bang. I mean, support for same-sex marriage among Gen Z, according to a couple new polls, is lower than boomers and millennials.
It's been shoved down their throat and they're just sick of it.
Yeah.
Their teachers come to school with multicolored hair talking about their different neo pronouns, and the kids are just like, oh my goodness, why are we doing this?
But the issue of same-sex marriage, I think, is something else. I think when you see the polling showing that also young men are moving very much to the right and young women to the left, I think you've got young guys who are watching Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate, and they're just thinking to themselves,
my kid watches, my son, he's 14. He likes Matt Walsh.
well, Matt Walsh is in terms of like, I think that Andrew Tate does have a lot of good things, but I do think Matt Walsh is better in terms of like a father figure type inspiration for a variety of reasons.
I much prefer watching Matt Walsh to Andrew Tate. But.
Yeah, Andrew Tate's he has a lot of silly videos he makes. They're pretty funny. But Matt Walsh is like a dad. You know what I mean? That's good. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Seems like a good dad too.
But I think there's a lot of it has to do with young men being told they're bad, they're the problem, and they're just tired of it.
I bet a lot of them went through school and were playing along and knew it was ridiculous, saying words they didn't agree with, and now they're out of school and they're like, I have freedom now? All right, that stuff was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I think
so
a big component of it is when you're in school and you hear all these sweet nothings about how you deserve this and you deserve that, and shouldn't you get this and shouldn't you get that, you're thinking, yeah, I do deserve this. I do deserve that. Then you graduate, get a job, work really hard, and then you look at your paycheck and you realize, yeah, the other people deserved your money, apparently. Right. That was your idea. Right. And they immediately go, whoa, no, hold on. I worked. I deserve my paycheck. No. You, as a young person, advocated that the people who aren't working deserve your paycheck, and so you lost it. And then they immediately do a 180 and say, okay, that was a mistake. I also think dating plays a big role in it as well. Younger guys reaching an impasse where they're like, how do I start a family? How do I get a house?
Yeah, I mean, if you know What If All History, that Red Yard guy?
Yeah.
He released a video this weekend called The Upcoming Incel Rebellion, and then it got taken down by YouTube.
Really?
For reasons. And then he posted a whole clip about it, he reposted and everything like that, but just reasons,
He put it back
right?
on YouTube?
I believe so. It was reposting it when I read the post, and it was waiting for it to upload, but
wow.
just reasons, right?
But he's not wrong.
Yeah, he's not.
When young men become listless and purposeless, you get revolts. They have nothing to do. They find ideologies, and then they lash out.
And if they don't revolt, they'll go to another country. Oh, wait, we're the country that they went to.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And they're here.
Yeah. They're here. And it wasn't what it was advertised as.
Well, you'd think many of them would leave, but it's being facilitated.
Where would they go? This is still the best country in the world.
Yeah, but I was in France covering the migrant crisis there several years ago. This is 7 years ago. And we interviewed migrants in Paris. It was cold. And they said, it's so cold. I hate it here. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't like the cold. I've never had the cold before. These are people who came from sub-Saharan Africa, economic migrants who were promised jobs and opportunity if they went on this dangerous trek. They were told that France wanted them there. The people working in these countries are saying, France is asking for migrants to come and take jobs. And they're like, really? So they came. Then they were put into these big inflatable tents that were freezing. And they're standing outside being like, I've never experienced cold before. And this is awful. I want to go
That's like
home.
what's happening in Chicago.
Yep.
Except in Chicago, they're also getting measles and tuberculosis.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going great.
Yeah. Chicago is going to be it's going to be brutal for a lot of these. It was brutal for a lot of these people, not realizing just how cold Chicago gets.
Venezuelans were going home.
What was really crazy? I went to the Chicago market this Christmas and it was impossible to be in. And it was the weirdest thing.
What do you mean impossible?
It was shoulder to shoulder and you couldn't actually do anything. So the Chicago market happens during Christmas. And normally it's like you walk in, you walk around, there's shops everywhere. They come from all over the world. And then you leave. This time you couldn't even get in. I was just like, I don't know if it's even worth going into because everyone's just standing smash shoulder to shoulder, moving 2 inches. And I'm like, what's happening to the city? And of course, most of the people there were not from there.
They were
Or
just
I shouldn't say
wanting
most.
to be inside.
No, what I'm saying is it was a lot of migrants. I don't know if they were illegal immigrants or otherwise, but there were a lot of people who were not from Chicago. Maybe they were tourists or otherwise, but I'm like, aren't these people the same people saying we're overpopulated? Like advocating for mass migration into our cities that they claim are overpopulated? Doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense.
It doesn't, does it?
No.
None of it makes sense unless you think about it being used to change the outcome of elections, which I think is one of the things the left is doing with this influx.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.